Howdy, guys, and welcome to night 74 of Big Brother All Stars. A good Sunday morning to y'all. This is Cliff Notes from outside the Big Brother house. Now, we had a veto competition yesterday, a very important veto competition, and I am going to be talking about the results of that contest. So if you are the type that doesn't want to hear spoilers, you need to stop for just a second, watch the CBS episode on Monday night, and then come back and watch the overnight wrap up, okay? So you have been warned. All right, as I said, we had the veto competition yesterday. Took place, I think, mid-afternoon. The feed shut down. They came back on 4 o'clock or so, Big Brother time, after being down for a couple hours, and we have our winner. Remember, one of the most important competitions of the whole season long determines who the final 3 is, and the winner of the veto is Cody. Cody wins the final veto competition of the year. He now controls the fate of either Nicole or Christmas. Enzo's HOH, so he's safe. Cody has now won veto, so he is safe. So we have 2 of the 3 people that are going to advance to the final 3. Amazingly, the 2 people that we have going in first, neither one has been on the block all season long. So kind of a clean sweep from those guys, and props to them. They deserve it for getting where they are. So now we get to figure out who's going to be the 3rd that goes along with them. Kind of think we may know, but we'll talk about it, and certainly they talk about it a little bit. So when the feeds come back, all the house guests are wearing some brightly colored shirts with a veto symbol on the front. You can see it right here, Cody's. Maybe think that costume, that uniform is very similar to one that we had last season for our final 5 veto competition, BB Comics. Our shirt was same colors with the veto symbol, didn't have the little hamster on it, but everything else looked the same. And it just made me think about it. Before BB Comics, we all were told to go put our uniforms on. We put these shirts on right here. Couldn't figure out what the competition was. One at a time, when we went out in the backyard to do the BB Comics, very last minute, right before we went out there, we were told, look over and here's your actual costume. And then we saw the BB Comics with the cape and everything else. So yeah, we didn't know it was BB Comics until right before we went out in the backyard one at a time. But at one point, we actually were wearing this little costume as well. So just an FYI for those of you who were interested about last year. The competition seems like it was called apparently the Wheel of Fun. It was a memory competition, as they were all thinking it could be. Apparently consisted of questions about which day did something occur on, day 54, day 72, whatever. The house guests then had to run in a hamster wheel to get the counter to go to the correct day. And I guess at that point, maybe his first person hit the button, won that round. We didn't see it on the feed, so we're kind of guessing based on what the house guests said. If you went over the days that you thought it was, you either had to reset the wheel at 0 or maybe rotate the wheel in the other direction. Sounds like maybe every rotation forward counted as 1 day. If you rotated the wheel backwards, it took off 5 days, something like that. But the gist of it is you had to know what day certain events occurred on, spin your wheel faster than everyone else, hit the button, and you would win that particular round. And again, Cody wins that particular competition. We have Nicole telling the cameras that she knew every answer to the contest, but she just lost her composure, and that's why she lost in the end. Later, she mentions, I think she tells Cody that she was 1 question short of winning. There was just one that got to her, and if it wasn't for that one, maybe she would have won it. And Cody questioned her a little bit, but Nicole felt like she was very close to winning. She's a little upset because she wanted to win the final one. She mentions that she didn't want to get drug into a final 3, that she wanted to win at the end and dominate. I get it. And we're going to talk about that in just a second. Nicole is in the bathroom telling Cody that she talked to Christmas, that Christmas thinks that Nicole has a much better chance at staying at making final 3 as opposed to Christmas. Well, yeah, of course. I think we all expect Cody to take Nicole over Christmas to final 3. If he turned around and took Christmas instead and sent Nicole out the door, everyone's jaws would be dropping. No one would be expecting that whatsoever. Nicole sure wouldn't be. Nicole would not be expecting that at all. So now I think she's correct that truly Christmas will be going home ahead of Nicole. Which brings up the question, is Christmas even going to campaign this week, knowing the odds are so stacked against her staying? Yeah, I think she still will. She wouldn't be Christmas if she didn't try, right? The problem, I think, is that Christmas is probably going to campaign based on what a great game she thinks she has played, how much she feels like she deserves a shot at the final three, which you can argue for or against that, but I'm not sure that's the argument that would make Cody give her that shot at the final three, betray Nicole, and send her home. I really think instead, Christmas, if she wanted any chance of staying at all, she would have to campaign based on how many people dislike her on jury, that you don't know what's going to happen with Nicole, but you know if you keep me, all these people, Danny, others can't stand me, so you'd have a cakewalk win in this thing, Cody. I don't think either one's going to work. I think Cody thinks he can beat everyone anyway when it comes to a jury vote. So Christmas has her work cut out for her, but I'm sure she'll still try. All right, so Cody responds, talking to Nicole and her saying, Christmas thinks that you're going to take me and all. Cody responds, yeah, and if Enzo tries to convince me otherwise, if Enzo tries to suggest that I take Christmas instead of you, I'm shutting that down immediately. I am not going to do it. And Nicole keeps saying, yeah, but do you think taking Christmas is better for your game than taking me? And Cody keeps saying, it doesn't matter because I'm not doing it. I'm taking you. And I almost feel like Nicole's getting a little bit nervous, a little panicky, because Cody won't straight up say, no, my game is better taking you than Christmas. And that creates some concern in her that maybe Cody last minute would take what he thinks is better for her game. I don't think that's the case, but I expect Nicole to worry every bit of the way until Thursday when Christmas's name is announced as the evictee. So we'll see. We'll see how the paranoia and the stress and anxiety ramps up maybe over the next few days, because Christmas will do everything she can to milk it and to work it. I do believe. But yeah, I think Cody's certainly doing that. And again, he says, I'm shutting Enzo down. Enzo is not even going to have a chance to carry on that conversation with me. With that, let's go to the HOH room. Enzo and Cody are talking at this point in time. Enzo is saying, yo, Cody, man, we're final three. This is great. I knew you'd win it, Cody. I had no doubt whatsoever. And then Enzo says that he just wants to get to the questions part of the finale competition. And remember, the finale with the final three, it's 3 parts. And the final part, the winner of which determines who actually goes before the jury, is typically a question, true, false, ABC kind of competition. Enzo's saying he just wants to make it there. He just wants to get to that point, the final part of that competition. I think he wants to go, he better want to go a little bit further, right? But he's saying, Cody, I just want to at least get there. That's so cool. At this point, Enzo is talking to the cameras just himself. And he's saying, hey, Cody won this thing. I think maybe that was actually a good thing that Cody won it. And he's thinking that the fact that Cody won yet another competition, that maybe it would scare Nicole about taking Cody to a final 2, because he has so many comp wins to brag about in front of the jury, that maybe that's going to scare Nicole a little bit, cause her to take Enzo instead. Yeah, I don't think so, Enzo. I think you've played yourself into probably a 3rd place position, but perhaps that's what we at least hear what Enzo is going to advocate to Nicole, if Nicole should win that final competition and have to decide between Cody and Enzo. But it sure seems that, doesn't it seem that if either Enzo or Nicole won the final and got to decide who else to take, that taking the other one, that either one of them sending Cody out the door in 3rd place, has got to be the best decision for their own gameplay and their own chance to win the grand title, right? It's got to be. And yet, I think if Nicole or Enzo, either one, is deciding, I think they both take Cody with them instead of taking what I think is a better game decision. That's a strong, strong play from Cody, that he's got that kind of loyalty that we're even thinking that may actually happen. So we've got that. Nicole, Cody, and Christmas are talking. They're talking about part 1 of the finale, the final 3 competitions. Typically, part 1 of it is an endurance competition, which I fully expect Cody to win. Part 2 is a combination of physical and mental competitions. I think Nicole is so much better at the mental side of it, the days and dates, than Enzo is, that I would expect Nicole to win. And then you have the questions part for the finale would be between Cody and Nicole, and who knows what would happen at that point. I think you have your final 2 right there that are going to go before the jury. All right, so after that, we have a discussion during dinner of whether they'll get the yard again this week. There was some talk earlier that they are thinking that because the finale is on a Wednesday night, that this week may actually be a shorter week, that they could have a surprise eviction on a Tuesday or Wednesday instead. And if that's the case, maybe they won't get the yard back before they do the final three. As far as I know, we're not having any kind of surprise night. It's a Thursday evening, just as is typical, and they may get the backyard for a day or two. We did last season with a similar type schedule, so they may get it, but they're wondering if they'll even get to go back in the backyard again. The group is talking at this point, just after dinner or during dinner, about how Davon using her veto on Kevin just screwed up her entire game. It didn't at all. And props to Davon for not being intimidated into not using her veto that week. It wouldn't have affected when she went home at all. It just would have sent Kevin home just a little bit earlier. Eventually, the house guests talking about reached the same conclusion. Say, actually, maybe it didn't matter at all. So, use it or not, she probably would have still gone home that next week, which is true. So props to Davon for not giving in. That would have not been good. All right. We get a lot of requests for liquor throughout the evening, which is the quickest way to make sure that you don't get anything for Big Brother. Big Brother doesn't like whiny house guests, and there was a lot of whining for liquor tonight. Didn't happen. They never got any. The house guests eventually play a backgammon tournament, which Christmas wins. She doesn't win $10,000. She doesn't advance to anything beyond that, but at least she won the backgammon tournament. Cody is getting his eyebrows waxed and tweezed by Christmas with help from Nicole. It looks horrible. I would want no part of that in the house, but Cody's letting him do it. It's certainly not Cody's favorite thing to do. At one point, Nicole tries to prank Cody by using honey on a paper towel, and she wants to put it on him and make him think it was wax, but he caught her. He figures it out. She can't keep a straight face, so he figures it out, stops her. They're trying to come up with games to play throughout the evening. Nicole and Cody come up with a game of, they want to feed Enzo random things from the kitchen and see if he can guess what they are. Enzo wants no part of that. He says, I just want to eat my popcorn. You aren't feeding me weird stuff. Enzo really, he's saying no to every game they come up with except for charades. He wants to play charades, but he don't want to play any of these other games. Eventually, they start acting out comedy scenarios with weird situations, kind of like the TV show, Whose Line Is It Anyway? The old one with Drew Carey. So they're trying to have fun doing different comedies and things like that. Eventually, that evolves into them talking travel stories, where they've traveled, where they would want to travel. At this point, we get up into the HOH room. Cody and Nicole are talking. Nicole is trying to figure out what to say in the veto ceremony. She's just not sure. Seems pretty basic to me. I want to stay. I want you to use it on me and all, but she doesn't really know what to say. Cody's helping her a little bit. She's thinking that Christmas is going to come guns a-blazing if she thinks that she is going home. Well, she thinks she's going home. She is going home. And yes, I do think she'll come guns a-blazing. So I hope so. Otherwise, it's going to be a really boring next couple of days. So bring it on, Christmas. That's what we're hoping for. Bring up the drama before you head out of that house. The talk turns to Cody's video games, how often he plays, wearing headphones, a lot of things like that, just his outside the house adventures. At the end of the conversation, there is a bit of game talk with Nicole mentioning that she and Enzo and Cody have won everything since the triple eviction night, that they've really dominated from that point on, that really as soon as Christmas dropped that one pumpkin in that one competition, and from that point on, they were just kind of flustered and really didn't have any control of the game at all. And that's true. And that's why we have the final three that I expect that we're going to have. So they wrap that up. At that point in time, everyone disperses. I think Cody had a DR session. Everyone else basically gets in bed. Enzo's up in the HOH room looking at pictures of his kids and such, and just reminiscing a little bit. But that's pretty much it for the evening. They shut down, and there you have it, guys. I expect to see some campaigning starting tomorrow. It'll be interesting to see just how hard Christmas pushes and what comes of it, which I don't expect will be anything at all. But go be you, Christmas. Do everything you can. Fight. Go out fighting, because that's what you're supposed to do. All right, guys, y'all have a fantastic Sunday. I will be back in 24 hours. We'll see what happens this evening, if there's anything exciting. We'll have the veto ceremony in another 24 hours or so. So I will see y'all on Monday morning. Until then, y'all have a fantastic end to your weekend. SKD 143. Cheers, my friends. Bye.